What's up, everyone? Welcome to Growth Channel. Today we have a very special guest, Dr. Reyes, in the house.
All
Welcome,
right.
brother.
Thank you. Thank you
So,
again.
no problem, no problem. So, today we're gonna talk about the importance of going to the chiropractor. So, I don't know if you guys noticed, but I actually just finished a 15K run in San Francisco, and our doctor here, he's actually a runner. So, I know he could share a little bit about his story and how you went from, you know, when was the first time you ever started running, doctor?
Oh man, I play soccer all my life since probably I think I was 10 when I first started, and last year was the last year that I stopped. But running, obviously, it's the base, for soccer. I didn't like running, but I had to run because I wanted to stay in shape for soccer. So I've been running since I was 10. So almost what, 50 years.
Wow. So
Well,
50 years running?
45, 45. I'm 55 now. So yes.
Wow, wow, that's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Now, when was the first time you run your first? I know you mentioned you run the marathon, right?
Right. So I was here in the States because I was born and out of the country, but I came here when I was 13, 14, and then I did my first half marathon in Orange County actually,
Oh wow.
and then I did my marathon in LA, the Bakersfield. So I been you know been running since like I said since I was young, but seriously running like 5Ks, half marathons or full marathons probably like 15, 20 years ago.
Got you, got you.
Yeah.
So, did you start off with like a 5K, a 10K, 15K? What was your first like long distance run?
I think it was a 5K.
A 5K?
Because remember, I used to date this girl that was in cross country in high school, and she
Okay.
got me into running even more, right?
So that's what got you into running.
Yeah,
Ah,
exactly. Besides the soccer. So, and then I started loving it, of course. So I did my first 5K, I remember, in the city of Cypress in Orange County. And then
okay.
and that's how it all started, doing my half K and then my half marathon, I'm sorry, and then my marathons after that.
So, when did you finish running your marathon?
Um, what year
Yes,
or
because
oh,
you started from going to 5K and then
right.
like you got to that marathon. But when did you finish doing the marathon? Like, what's the time frame between when you started running the 5K
Oh,
to
I
getting
see.
to the marathon?
Yes. Ah, man. I think it was probably after maybe 10 years of first running my like my 5K, my half marathon, because I really thought about running that full marathon until I was a little older. But lucky, I mean, I was telling you one
Right,
one
right,
time I actually I missed the date for the marathon in Los Angeles.
right. You did.
So what I did was I at the same time that we're running in LA, I was running the marathon here in Bakersfield. This
Yeah.
was a couple of years ago. So
Right, right.
yeah,
How long ago was this?
approximately like 5 years ago.
Nice.
Yeah.
So, doctor, you have always been into sports.
Yes, as a matter of fact, that's the reason why I got into the field of chiropractic because I remember, I always wanted to be a doctor since I was, 7 probably because my mom used to work at a hospital where she used to take me because she had no babysitter for me. So I told her one day, you know what, I want to be a doctor. I didn't know what kind of doctor I wanted to be until I started seeing the chiropractor, and I noticed that every time I would go to him, like before my soccer games, my performance would improve. And I was like, oh, wait a minute, this is exactly what I wanted to do, you know?
Right, right.
And then after I finished my chiropractic career, college, I got my degree and I specialized in sports medicine.
Mm.
So I was telling your cameraman that I was part of the Chivas. I was the team doctor for Chivas at one point.
For Chivas.
Chivas from
Mm.
Mexico, yes. And also, I had been part of Team USA, where I treat the Olympic athletes for the United States. Actually, I'm still part of that. We could be selected to go to any of the Olympic Games, Paralympic Games, Goodwill Games, you name it.
Wow.
So I'm part of
Interesting.
that. So it has opened so many doors. The sports medicine field in chiropractic has opened so many doors for me. And I think, but the main reason was because I was playing and I noticed my improvement with chiropractic care before my games. I was like, this is it. This is what I want to do.
That's interesting that you mentioned that, doctor, because so I have a cousin, right?
Hmm.
He's a wrestler. So
Right.
he's getting to the chiropractor up in North Salinas.
Okay.
And he told me that he was inspired to get into the chiropractor world just because when he started going to the chiropractor, he started feeling better and a better
Exactly.
results. Now, what made a result for you the first time you went to the chiropractor?
Yeah.
Like, what made a difference in you? Like, where did you see the difference?
Performance. I was able to my strength, my conditioning, everything improved. On top of obviously I was training and I was running, but I was more flexible. I was less tense. My immune system was better. My flexibility was better. I had less injuries because I was getting chiropractic care throughout. The soccer career, if you will. So, and that's one of the things. That's actually the benefits that I mentioned are actually the benefits that you see when you go see a chiropractor. Even you don't have to be a runner or a soccer player, but the benefits. It's a long list. You feel better. You're more flexible. You have less tension. You have less pain. You can move better. Your performance improves. Your immune system actually gets stronger, especially with kids. Kids they already have a strong immune system, but if they go to the chiropractor on a regular basis, they get actually their immune system gets stronger, even more stronger than
Wow,
what they
even
are already,
kids.
and they suffer less, sickness than compared to kids that don't go to the chiropractor. Pregnant women, same thing. You carry a baby for 9 months. Of course, you're gonna create some back problems. I see a lot of pregnant women.
Right.
Women who actually have chiropractic care during pregnancy, they actually spend less time delivering comparing to those that don't. So
Mhm.
the pain obviously is the same, but at least you don't suffer for a long time. You just go and deliver because they have received chiropractic care during pregnancy. So that
Wow.
is a plus. I recommend people who are pregnant go to the chiropractor.
Right, right. So how often should someone go to the
A
chiropractor?
good question. I recommend at least 2 times a month. How many times do they recommend for you to go to the dentist? Every 6 months, right? To get your
Right.
dental check. How come you don't go to the chiropractor at least once a month? So we neglect our spine, and it shouldn't. It's part of your body. You only have one spine, right?
Yeah.
So even if you get adjusted every day, it's still not bad for you. It's still good. However, I recommend at least 2 times a month.
2 times a month.
Yeah.
And is this just for people who are in sports or in
In
general?
general, of course, if you have pain, if you have a car accident, back pain, or whatever injuries, of course you need more treatment than that. But this is for like a general rule for people who never had chiropractic care or want to experience it, or want to keep on a maintenance plan or on a regular basis. Then 2 times a month is recommended.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if someone wants to get in your industry, doctor, what's the process of becoming a chiropractor
Good question, because, and I'm glad you
in
brought it
today's
up.
day? In today's
Yes,
day.
I'm glad you brought it up because there's a lot of people out there that are really uneducated, and sometimes, and I laugh because some people think that chiropractors are not doctors, and we have the same training as medical doctors, same schooling. Some subjects that we take are actually we have more hours than a medical doctor, and there's some
Wow.
courses that they have more hours than us, like prescribing medication, for example. Of course they have more hours because we don't prescribe. Surgery, of course they're going to have more time, training, but we have more training in neurology, musculoskeletal system, the nervous system. So, but overall it's the same time, like 4 years of college, 4 years of chiropractic school, and then 2 to 3 more years of a specialty. So
Wow.
you're talking about there what, 8 plus, 8 years plus more
Yeah,
specialty
yeah.
if you want to specialize.
Now, what's the cost, the average cost to becoming a chiropractor?
Well, nowadays obviously it's a little bit more. When I graduated, it was around 200,000.
200,000.
200,000 at least. That was my loan, my student
Right,
loan when I
right,
got out
right.
of school. Now it's a little bit more than that. I'm not quite sure, but I'm pretty sure it's more than 200,000.
Wow.
Yes.
That's pretty interesting.
Yeah. So it all depends. It depends on your scholarship. If you are also financing your education yourself, or if you are also getting financial aid. So it all depends. In my case, I didn't work because you can't work when you're going to medical school, chiropractic school, dental school. It would be so difficult for you to go to school and work at the same time. I don't recommend that. You need to focus on what you're doing. Otherwise, you're gonna be there more than for 4 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty interesting.
Yes.
Now, do you only do the chiropractor? Are you in the industry just in America or you go in different countries as well?
That's the good thing. The beauty of chiropractic, as a doctor of chiropractic, you have to be licensed to go to practice in a different state. However, as a traveling chiropractor, you can pretty much practice everywhere, especially with the Olympic athletes. But I could go to another state, to another country, and do chiropractic services. I don't need to have a license for that state. Now, if I work and stay and live in that state, yes, I have to have a license for each state that I live and practice. But like I have done medical missions to El Salvador, Mexico.
So it's similar.
Yeah,
When it comes to the licenses, it's similar to the life insurance industry, where you had to kind of have a license in every
exactly.
state.
Yeah,
Interesting.
and it applies to all kind of doctors as well.
Wow.
Yes, and but El Salvador, Mexico, Latin America, they don't really require you to have license, but it's recommended, of course, if you want to go work over there.
Okay.
Like I said, I have done medical missions where we do chiropractic services, medical services, and you don't have a problem if you do that. Yeah, because it's temporarily.
Right,
Yeah,
right. Now, doctor, we make it sound easy, right? But it has taken a lot for you to get to where you're at right now, right? Now,
definitely.
people, when we go on the camera, they're like, oh, just maybe this is a newbie, but you're not a newbie at all, right? How
Oh
long you
no.
been in the industry?
I've been in the industry 24 years now.
Wow.
Graduated 2000. I was in school, and you're supposed to do 1 year, no, 2 years of residency, internship,
Okay.
and every time they would tell us, because the college selects a hospital or a clinic or where you are supposed to go and do your residency, and they had this book, and every time I would open it, it would say Bakersfield. I'm like, no, I don't want to go to Bakersfield.
Really?
I would do it again the next week, Bakersfield. So I said, you know
I
what?
guess God
It's
put you
it's
here,
a
huh?
sign, right? I came here in 2000 and never left.
Wow, wow.
Yeah,
Now, what's the mindset to stay disciplined in your area? Because 22 years, man, that's quite some time. Some people jump into an industry and they quit before they become
right.
successful. So, what did it took for you? Like, what's the story behind it? Like, was there any pain or anything that drove you? Like, what really drove you to become who you are today?
Um, like I said earlier, I always wanted to be a doctor. I just was not sure what type I wanted to be. So my mindset was always there. I knew I wanted to become a doctor. So I never deviated from that goal. Whatever, I had some adversities, obviously, like ups and downs, but I never gave up.
And this
You
is
know,
back in El Salvador when
yeah,
you're thinking as a child, one day
exactly.
I want to be a doctor.
So yeah, and when I got here, my dad asked me, "Do you want to go to school or do you want to work?" I said, "No, I want to work. I mean, I want to go to school because I want to be a doctor." He goes,
Wow.
"Okay." He did not let me work, and then of course I started working here and there, but when I was in college, but when I was in chiropractic school, I couldn't work. So I think my dad, my parents in general, they both helped me to get where I'm at, and then but it not only discipline, but it also takes a lot of commitment, because sometimes I had to miss quinceañeras, birthday
Right.
parties, and baptisms, you name it, because even my friends, they would tell me, or my cousins, why are you always studying? Why don't you just come out and play? But I'm
Right.
like, I can't, I know what I want in life, so I got to do this first.
People don't talk about those sacrifices that they have to
Exactly.
make, right?
Yes.
Now, was there any sacrifices that you regret not doing just to get to where you're at?
Yes.
Can you mention some of
Yeah, of
them?
course. The main one is like, I I was um, trying out for a professional soccer team.
Okay.
I did make the team. It was actually the second division for the Galaxy when it first started back in '96. So I was selected to be part of the professional soccer team, but they offered me $500 every month, and that was it. So I was like, either $500 a month or I go to school.
You were married with a kid already,
One
so
kid,
500 wasn't doing it.
right? But I do regret it in a way because that was my goal to become a professional soccer player. But I'm happy where I'm at. I work with professional soccer teams. I know a lot of people, and my family is set, and I'm happy because I have my own business. It's a good business. You know, People ask me like, "Hey, how do I do what you do?" Not people, but other doctors, because in theory. a medical doctor is supposed to make more than a chiropractic doctor
Mhm.
because they don't have restrictions as much as we do. There's a lot of things that we can't do. We're trained on doing things that a medical doctor does, but we're not in California,
Right,
so
right.
we can't prescribe, we can't do surgeries, although we're trained. But despite the fact that on theory they're supposed to make more, I make more money than some medical doctors that I know, and they have come to me for
For
advice,
advice.
and I tell them what to do, and because you know me, I am always out there. I get involved with my community. I have scholarship foundations. I give out
Right.
money. I'm what do you call a philanthropist. I'm involved with television. I do radio. I have my own book, and and I give to my community. I give back to my community, so people appreciate that. And sometimes I have so many patients that I don't want to see any more patients.
Right, right.
But that's part of the job, which I don't really consider a job because I love what I
You
do.
love it.
Yeah,
You love it.
exactly.
Now, you do mention you have two books, right?
Yes,
What were your books about?
chiropractic.
Okay.
The philosophy of chiropractic. The benefits. Um,
Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
yeah, the chiropractic way of life. That's what it's called, or the chiropractic way to health. Actually, that's what it's called.
What's the main purpose for that book in specific?
First of all, credibility.
Okay.
Second, it's a good marketing tool. Third, it gives you authority because the subject. And it was an urging, not an urging, but a burning desire that I had just to write something, and
Mm.
I did it, and it was translated into English and Spanish.
Wow, so that was your first book.
Yeah.
What about your second book?
Well, that's the two books. One was in
Okay.
English and one was in Spanish, so it's pretty much the same. So two books, but one in English,
Ah,
one in Spanish. Yeah, I'm
wow.
working on the second one. Sports injuries actually is next.
Interesting.
Yeah,
And that's very interesting. It's interesting that you mentioned that because you just were in a car accident, right?
I was.
Is
Yeah.
that what's inspiring you to write this other book?
Not necessarily, but this accident has, taught me so many lessons in life. I was so close of losing my life a year and a half ago. When we did the last
Yeah,
podcast, I
yeah,
was in a wheelchair, remember?
I remember.
Now I'm
That's
just
when
using that cane, but yeah.
exactly. What a
Um,
progress, huh?
Thank God.
God is good.
Yeah, God is good. But I'm taking this as a learning experience, because He's God has given me a second chance, not to become better personally, but in my business, with my family, with people in general. I think one of the things that has blessed my career and my finances is because I always put people first. I always see the good in people because the money comes second. So that's
Right.
one thing, and a lot of people don't see that. Don't see that in people. They think about money first, and no, you gotta see people first, and then like I said, money comes after.
Right,
Yeah,
right. Interesting. Now, is there certain books that you like? I know you're into reading as
oh
well,
yeah,
right? So, as
definitely.
far as personal development, is there any books you recommend to the audience that could help them, or in specific, a book that has
Yeah,
helped you that changed your life completely?
there's so many. One of them is The Richest Man in Babylon. That's
Okay.
a really good book.
You save your 10%?
Oh, definitely. I say more than that. I will tell you
Nice.
more about it. But there's also The Automatic Millionaire. There's also A Smart Women Finish Rich. What else is out there? Oh, the Five Next Moves by Patrick
Patrick?
David.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
What else? I read so many books.
So,
But
those have changed your life, though.
oh, definitely, those are the main ones. Those are the main ones that.
So, doctor, when it comes to finances, right? I know you hit your $1 million mark, right? Or
Yeah.
am I wrong?
No, you're right.
So, what got you to make your first million? How'd you get to generate your first million?
Back in the 90s, I saw this article, or maybe I read it somewhere, where Jim Carrey sent himself a $1 million check. So he envisioned this, you know, and a year later or something, he got a role and he got paid $1 million. I think it was 10 million or 1 million. I can't remember. In my case, I did the same thing. I'm like, you know what? That's attracting something that you're thinking about, right?
Right.
So I wrote a check for $1 million for me, and I put it in the mail and send it out to me.
Mm.
And I got it. When I got it, I'm like, cool. I'm gonna get that $1 million. So that's the first
Right. Right.
time that I thought about making $1 million. And then back in 2008, it took me a few years, since the 90s, right? But I made my first million, and then uh, that's how it all started. When you, it's really interesting because when you write your goals down and repeat them at least 67 days, it goes into your subconscious, and you start doing these things. You start attracting these things subconsciously, and then you obtain those things. So what I do, I have a list. So every
Mm.
time I get to something and I accomplish it, I cross it out and I put something new. Like
Wow.
having a swimming pool or having a big home, having sports cars, all those things. I was thinking, I wrote it down, and I would put it on a vision board, and I would see it every day. When I wake up, I would see it on the ceiling, or I would see it on my medicine cabinet. So I would remind myself about doing it.
Right.
So I did it.
Man, this is so interesting that you mentioned this, right? Because when I met you, I don't know if you remember, we were in the old I was in the old company,
That's right.
and you told me something very interesting that has been working for me, and I could share this
What
with
is
you.
it? I forgot.
Vision board.
Oh, that's
Vision
right.
board.
That's
So you
right.
said, well, you don't have a vision board. I'm like, I don't have a vision board, right? Because man, I'm an immigrant. I come from Mexico. I'm a U.S. citizen now, but I come
Well,
from
same
working
here.
in the fields. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I come from the fields, man. So for people like right now, we're talking about, oh, you generated your first million back in 2008,
Right.
but you envisioned that. And
Right.
a lot of the times people forget that having a vision board is very important. So I started implementing a vision board in my life, but not for a year. So this is what I've been doing, doctor. I did a live vision board.
Oh, there you go.
Instead of doing a 1 year vision board, I did, okay, who do I want to be? Who do I want to be remembered as? And I started creating a live vision board. So what I do now, every time I hit an accomplishment, I rip it off and I put a new one.
That's right.
And it's a never ending thing, But it's like I learned that from you, and I wanted to thank you. I
I'm
wanted
glad
to
you
thank you
got
for
the
that.
advice. It's really interesting because I paid a lot of money to learn about marketing, branding, and more about personal growth and financial uh, and wealth. And one time, this chiropractic doctor who actually he doesn't practice, but he teaches people. He's my financial. He teaches people how to make money, especially chiropractic doctors. And he said, I'm not here to be your friend. I'm here to be effective. If you use at least 30 or 40% of what I'm telling you, you're going to have it made. And you
Right.
know what? I follow it, everything
To
that
the
he has
T.
to the T. And I went from $19,000 a month to sometimes $100,000 a month, And I'm like, wow. And I only applied maybe 90% of what he was teaching us. I try to do everything, almost everything that like I was telling you. So it works. It works. And that one of them was the vision boards.
Right.
Yeah.
So, what are some, touching base on finances now, right?
Hmm.
What are some of those habits? Because everybody, making a million or
Yeah.
even more than a million. Because million, there's people who make $1 million transactions right now,
Right.
as we speak, right? But what has helped you? What habits have helped you and the people you know to get there? Like,
Yeah.
what did it take? What are some of those
Good.
habits?
Having a coach, some people, I mean, people that know more than you, because there's always people that know more than you.
Right.
Number two, you have to be accountable for what you do, or have somebody like a coach being accountable for what you do. Number three, going back to that book, The Richest Man in Babylon. So the book technically tells you, that you every time you get paid or from your paycheck, you should save a certain portion to your saving, a certain portion to your business, to your taxes, and to your personal budget, right? So I do that, and since I'm a corporation now, but what I do is that every time I get paid or I get money, I separate that money. 10% goes into my savings, 10% goes to my taxes, 20% goes to my personal budget, 40% stays in the business, and 10% goes in the payroll. So I separate that and I make it a habit. That's why The Automatic Millionaire is also a good book when it comes to money, finances. But those two books, I follow them, like specifically exactly what they say. but everybody has their own what do you call it?
Pat.
Yeah, and you can, it doesn't have to be 10%, 20%. It could be, even 5%, but you got to start somewhere.
You gotta start
You got to
somewhere,
start
right?
somewhere, but you have to make it automatic. That way you don't even think about it.
Right.
Yeah.
So within the years, everything starts compounding, right?
Yes, I'm sorry, and I also forgot that I also do 10% for investing, and
Mm.
that's where the accident happened in El Salvador because I'm trying to buy some properties there, which I'm already in the process. I'm actually getting a ocean view apartment there, like I was telling you off cameras.
Right, right.
So I'm using that money for especially like real estate.
Wow,
Yeah,
wow.
because you know, life. I mean, life insurance, real estate. I recommend that you spend. I mean, invest your money in those two areas.
Man, I have to cough.
No
Oh
worries.
man, that's crazy.
Hold that it.
But yeah, so you're getting some apartments in El Salvador.
Yes, I'm getting one. I'm
One.
getting one, and then my next one is Miami.
Wow,
Yeah.
wow, interesting.
Yeah.
Huh, that's pretty cool. Now, what is some of your best? Sorry, what time is it? 1:30. And what time you gotta go?
About 5 minutes.
Okay,
Okay.
so we're closing out.
Yeah.
That I want to respect your time. Okay, now, doctor, out of everything we spoke, right? This is good stuff. What is some of your best advice for people who want to know more about getting in the chiropractor world, or they just want to connect, like with someone like yourself, or just
Right.
they don't know where to go? Where can they find you to go to the chiropractor?
Good. Good question. First, go to a chiropractor. It doesn't have to be me, but if you come to me, of course, it's better. But I know your audience does not live locally. Some of them, but go to a chiropractor. Experience what it is. Experience the product, right? And then ask questions because there's no dumb questions. I'm telling you, and get to know, like, what schools offer the best for your money, because there's some schools that that could be a little bit expensive, but you know what, at the end it's worth it. The school that I went to, it's in Whittier, Southern California University of Health Sciences. They offer chiropractic degrees, they offer physical therapy doctor degrees, they offer acupuncture degrees. They have a variety, like, of different holistic medicine degrees. And then but get involved with your community, because it's really interesting, because getting involved with the community, it gives you an experience. Once you're in practice, it makes it easier to connect with people. That's what I did. I started volunteering before going to chiropractor school, and then even after. So now, for me to do an event where they invite me, or I want to do, like, like I want to give meals on Thanksgiving Day or Christmas, it's easier for me to do that because I done it before.
Right.
So, and I think those are the advices that I would give to people who want to be, it doesn't even have to be a chiropractic doctor, any type of doctor, like in the medical field.
Right, right.
Do those things. It'll help.
Hmm,
Yes.
interesting. Is there anything else you would like to share for the audience?
Well, like I said before, chiropractic has a lot of benefits, and the state of California gives me the title of Doctor of Chiropractic. For some of you that might think that we're not doctors, we are trained in the medical field. Especially the school that I went to was very medical oriented. And go see a chiropractor at least 2 times a month. You will see a big difference in your health.
Doctor, well, thank you so much for coming again. It's always a pleasure having you.
No problem, man.
God
Thank
bless
you.
you,
All
brother.
right. Thank you.
Everyone in the audience, thank you guys for watching. God bless you guys. Don't forget to subscribe.